Okay, so hi. Um, if you guys don't know me, my name is Lexi. Um, I should have done this video a really long time ago, but God's timing is perfect. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I'm sitting in this hotel room in Spokane, Washington, and yeah, so I just thought, well, I didn't think. God laid it on my heart to tell my testimony. And so it's kind of long, kind of confusing. Um, but yeah, like, bear with me, I guess. Um, okay, so let's start I guess when I was born. Yeah, because my mom, so when I was born, my mom, she dedicated me back to Jesus. So she told me that, she took me in her arms and she lifted me up to the sky and she said, God, I give her back to you. And and so she said that, a gust of wind, wrapped around me and stuff like that. And there were French doors at the hospital that she was staying at. And so, they flung open. And she knew that, he took me back in a way. And so when I was like, so basically, I'm going like way, way back. So we grew up very wealthy. Um, I rode limos to the elementary school, like that kind of wealthy. We had a giant mansion, lived on the golf course. I would pay people to do my homework for me. Um, my dad, he loved me. He always spent time with me. Um, everything was kind of like picture perfect, I guess, in a way. Um, but when I was 7, my father, he left. And he didn't come back. And so, that was a really hard time because we lost everything. We went from the wealthiest people to like dirt poor. Um, and I remember 2 years after he left that I got a phone call from him and I was so excited and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I got a phone call." And he's like, "Yeah," he was like, "How would you like to have a new mommy?" And like my heart just like sunk. And I was like, hoping that they would get back together. And I grew very, very cold hearted. Um, I was really hurt, like a lot. And then let's see, my mom, she remarried a guy named Aaron, and he seemed like so great, like he seemed amazing, and yeah, it it was pretty good. Like he took really good care of us, and he cared for my mom and everything like that. But uh, you know, things started to get like worse when my mom got pregnant. So yeah, and basically too, I've lived all over, and I'll kind of explain that. But we were living in Maryland at the time, and my mom got the news that she was pregnant, and for some reason I wasn't happy about the pregnancy, and I guess it was like a sixth sense kind of thing. Um he became really like abusive mentally, that I wasn't gonna amount to anything, and that, I was dumb, I was stupid, like, I'm not gonna have anything going for me in life, and just a bunch of other stuff that is just terrible. Um, and then, I don't know, after that, um, it just got worse and worse and worse. And like, when he would get home, everybody would disappear because he became like a dictator in a way. And so so after that, uh let's see, I'm trying to think. It's like it's so hard to take my childhood memories cuz like so much bad stuff happened that I kind of just like flushed it away. Um and I remember when I was in Maryland that there was this one time, and I was standing in my parents' room and they pushed me out. And I went around the house and looked in the window, and I don't remember seeing anything. Um, but I just remember my mom grabbing me and she's beating me with this ping pong paddle. And she's just beating me and beating me and beating me until it broke, and she still kept beating me. And that's when I truly became fearful of my mom. And and so maybe that's why I became fearful of him too. Who knows? Um but so like after all that happened, we moved from Maryland to, where did we go? I think Pennsylvania. Or did we go back to Tennessee? I can't remember. We've moved so many times. Um, but I do remember that they separated. We were living in Tennessee. I was a freshman in high school. And, or no, I was in eighth grade when they separated. I was in eighth grade. And I remember him coming over and taking care of her when she was sick. And I was like, oh, if they get back together, I can't do it. And so I left. I ran away. And our old neighbor, um, they saw me walking on the street and they picked me up and they told my mom about it. And my mom, she beat me again. Yep. But she finally walked away from him. But they had shared custody of my little brother, so he was still involved in our life, but he wasn't coming over anymore. And then, I was always a goody two shoes. Like I always followed, the rules. Like what my mom said went. Like if she was like, you can't go there, you can't do this, you can't be with that person, whatever the case may be, I followed it to a T. I guess because I was scared of her. And I remember we were living in Tennessee, and we had to move, and we moved to Kentucky. And that was the hardest for me because I had a lot of relationships in Tennessee. And even though we moved a lot, Tennessee was kind of like home. And I grew up with a lot of people there. So that was really difficult. And so from Tennessee, I went to Kentucky. It was my sophomore year. And I remember in high school, like, people would be like, oh yeah, I just smoked or I just had sex, and I'd be like, shame on you, like, you need Jesus and Jesus is the way, and like, you just don't know who Jesus is. And I was very judgmental. I was like such a judgmental person. And I got in with the wrong crowd. And I met this girl named Beth. And I will never forget this. It was Halloween night. And I was with Beth. And she was like, take a swig of alcohol. I was like, no, like, I'm good. And she was like, oh, come on, like, everybody's doing it and all this stuff, right? And I was like, no, like, I'm really good, like, I'm fine. And then she was like, where's your mom at right now? And she was like, you always do what she says. Like, always. Like, why not live for you? And I was like, man. And that hit hard because my mom was constantly leaving us. Like, I remember the one time she left us for her boyfriend, and the electricity went out, and we had nothing to eat. And, like, we were just so abandoned. And she was doing the best she could. She was a single mom. And honestly, I was always searching for my mom's approval. Because I was always the black sheep. I never got good grades. Like, I was always compared to my sister Zoe. Like, oh, like, Zoe got straight A's. Zoe has this. Like, you're gonna end up, homeless, basically. You're gonna end up being nothing with your life. You're gonna amount to nothing. Like, you're, like, I don't even know what you're gonna be, basically. And so when Beth said that, it hurt really bad. And so I drank it, and I was like, okay. Then she was like, smoke some weed, and I was like, okay. So so I smoked some weed, but it burned my throat, so I was like, oh, I'm never doing that again. But I got so wasted that night. And I loved it. I love the feeling of not, like, dealing with my feelings, because I never deal with my feelings. This is something that I don't like to do. Like, when something bad happens to me, I just, like, push it down, and I'm like, oh, I'm fine. Like, I'm okay. And, yeah, so then I ended up, drinking a lot with Beth. And then I started smoking a lot with Beth. And I started party hopping and, like, going from party to party to party. And I remember having my first kiss. And it was really weird. I felt like I was, like, slug in my mouth. And I was like, is this normal? And Beth was like, yeah, like, it's fine. And like, I continued to party hop or whatever. And then like, I don't know, I just kept, drinking and smoking, and, making out with a bunch of people. And I never did anything. Like, maybe the most was, like, get fingered, but, like, that was it. And there was this one night that Beth and I were going to go and buy weed. And we were staying at this clubhouse. Because I guess the guy was gonna meet us there or whatever, and Beth was like, oh, I'm gonna go meet up with this guy, like, I'll be right back, like, you'll be fine. And I said, okay, I'll just chill in this clubhouse. And I don't remember a lot from that night because I blacked out, but, like, I do remember I was sitting on the floor, crisscross applesauce. And I remember these, like, 3 doors, like, barged in. They were like, like, what are you doing here and stuff like that. And yeah, it's very foggy from like what happened between from when they barged in to like me sitting on the floor. But like the last thing I remember is they were like shoving their dicks in my mouth, and they were like gagging me and choking me. And I couldn't breathe. And like I try not to remember the night because it was just so traumatic. And they were saying like, "Oh, you like that?" And like it was just like so demeaning. And I had a tampon in at the time. And so like it got shoved like all the way up into me. And like I just remember like it hurt so bad. I blacked out from the pain. And then when I woke up they were gone and I was just on the floor bleeding. And I when I got up to walk I couldn't even walk. I was like stumbling. It was so terrible. And like I just remember like finding Beth and just like sobbing and telling her that I got raped, and she made it seem like no big deal. And I remember laying in the bunk bed because I guess like the guy that she was seeing or whatever, he had like a spare room or something. And I just remember laying in the dark. And I was like, Jesus, like, please forgive me. Like, that was the one thing that I was saving. Like, I knew that that was, like, special. And so then, like, I got out of partying and I got out of drinking and stuff, and I was out of it for like 3 months because I was like, I'm gonna get my act together. Like, I don't want anything like that to ever happen to me again. And at the time, like, I found a guy and I was dating him, and we ended up having sex because I just felt worthless at that point. I was like, well, it's gone anyways. And then I remember just like ending the relationship with him. I don't know why. He was a really good guy. He treated me really well, like but I ended it, and then I just like got into drugs and alcohol, and I was just like, I kept alcohol in my veins and I kept smoke in my lungs. Like, there was probably not a day that I didn't go by that I wasn't high and drunk. And yeah, I became like really, 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 really numb. And after that, I just had sex. Like, I was just like, you know, I don't know. I just felt like numb. It's the best way to describe it. And then I was like, no, you know what? I want like an actual relationship. Like, I want actual love, you know? And so I got into a relationship, and you know, I thought he loved me, and he ended up breaking my heart. I was 18, and he shattered it. And so then I was just like, you know what? I'm just not gonna do love. I'm just gonna like sleep with people because love is overrated. And so that's what I did. Is I chose people who I knew were players. I chose people who I knew were cheaters. I chose people that didn't want a relationship. But the crazy thing is even though I chose those people, they wanted a relationship with me. And I'm like, why? Like, you knew what this was. Like, that wasn't part of it. And they wanted something more and I didn't. And, yeah, and then it's, it's so crazy because, like, my ex, like, we slept together. He was my boss at the time. I was selling cars. And yeah, I was just like, yeah, we should do that again sometime. And then like every night I was sneaking out and having sex and then he would drop me off and I would run back into my window. Um and like 2 weeks of us, he like drunkenly said that, he loved me and I was like, no, 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 like you don't love me. Like this isn't love. It's not love. Um and so he was like, you love me, and I'm like, no, no, no. So like a couple weeks later of us like hanging out, like we hung out every day. Um I was like, yeah, I guess I love you. And like I wasn't drinking or smoking or anything. Like I got out of that. Um but like yeah, we just had like a ton of fun in that aspect. And then he became kind of abusive. He was like mentally abusive, like when he would drink and stuff. Like he was like, "Oh, like I want you to hang out with my friends and like get to know them and stuff." And so like, like I would talk to them and then he would be like, "Oh, well, why don't you just go date them and stuff?" And he was like, "You're such a whore" and all this stuff. And he just like he messed with me mentally. Like it was just like up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. And then the whole thing, like I ended up moving out with him because like my parents found out that I was sneaking out my window. And I remember my mom and she was like, "It's either him or it's me." And I was like, "I choose him," cuz at the time he was really supportive. Like we had our ups and downs, but like he was always supportive of me and like he like made me happy. Even though he made me sad, he made me happy. And like I was just miserable in my household, like just miserable. Like before I met him, like I ran away the one time, and when I was like 17, yeah, I was 17. I was 17. Or no, I was 18. Was I? No, I was 17. I was 17. And yeah, I ran away. And they were like, we would watch you, we would light you on fire and watch you burn and like not even care. And I was like, oh, well, thanks. And so, like, there was just like so much messed up stuff in my household. And, you know, my mom and my stepdads did the best that they could, that they knew how to do. They're not bad people. It's just that's just how they wanted to handle me. You know I was so destroyed that I was just miserable all the time. And so he made me happy, and so I was like, yeah, I choose him. Why wouldn't I? And so like the first year was great. And I just decided, you know what? And then my mom, she was like, oh, well, you're living with a man, that's sin, like you're going to hell and all this stuff. And like, I just decided, I was like, you know what? All this bad stuff that's happened to me, like so much bad stuff. Like I can't even fit it all in a video, and nor do I want to, but like, just like so much stuff. And if there was a God who cared about me, it wouldn't have even happened. Like, You know, he wouldn't allow the things that went on to go on and all this stuff. And so I was like, screw God. I was like, you know what? I got myself, and I'm going to be me. And so my boyfriend, he bought me a car, he bought me a cell phone. He was like, look, I'll provide for you. You know, you don't have to worry about anything. We're going to be happy and all this stuff. And the first year, I'm not going to lie, it was great. Like, it was great. He was so nice. He brought me flowers. Like, you know, he stopped being like abusive mentally. Like, we were just always laughing and like happy and everything like that. And the second year, that's when everything fell apart. And it was like a light switch. Like someone was just like, switch off, switch off. He became distant. We didn't hang out as much. Like, I was constantly alone. Like, I went to the movie theaters like multiple times alone. And during the end, I got psycho. Like, I literally, like, so you gotta be careful of who you lose your identity to. Like, either you're gonna lose it to Jesus or you're gonna lose it to the world. I lost mine to the world. So I put my whole identity in my boyfriend. He was like my world. Like, he was what brought me happiness. He was what, you know, could change my day with a snap of a finger, you know? And so I just became like obsessed with him. Like, he was my obsession. And so like when he denied me, it like hurt so bad, you know? And so he was getting drunk and high, and I was like, you know what? Screw this of you always being drunk and high. I'm gonna be drunk and high. So I started smoking and stuff. And then we started like getting along and everything. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, this is good. And then, like, I just remember him, like, drinking and driving, and I was like, no, like, you're not drinking and driving and stuff. And, he just, like, got so angry with me, and, like, we had just so many altercations, and it was just so bad. It was just so bad. And, I remember the one time he was so drunk, and we got in this huge argument, and he was getting ready to leave, and like I laid under his tire, and I was like, you're gonna have to run me over if you're leaving. Like, it became like really, really like bad. And then like I remember this one night he was with his buddy Cody, and I drove to go see him, and he was drinking and stuff. And we got in an altercation. I don't even know how these altercations started. I don't know, like, what happened. But I remember I was, like, gonna drive off, and he hung onto my door, and I'm like, Drew, like, let go. And he didn't let go. And so I ran over his leg because I was, like, trying to get away because he kind of, like, he was in his truck, and I got out of my car, and like all I remember is him backing up, and I'm like, he knew I was there, and like he like hit me. And so when he hit me, I was like, I'm leaving. And so he was holding onto the car door, and I ran over his leg. And then I remember being like, I'm so sorry, like, I'm so sorry, and everything. And he was like, I'm gonna call the cops, you're gonna go to jail and everything. And I just remember feeling like so like sad, and like I just ran you over, like, how could I do that? Like, I would have never done that. Like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I was like, please don't send me to jail. Like, I love you. And he's like, you don't love me, and all this stuff. And from the day that we, like, from the second year, not from the first year, but from the second year, he's been trying to, like, get me to do anal. And I was like, no, like, that's something that, like, I will not do. Like, it's not happening. And so when I ran him over and stuff, like, I was so distraught. I was like, please don't send me to jail and stuff. I was like, I'll do anything. Like, I'll do anything. Like, please don't send me to jail. And I remember going home that night, and like he was drunk, and he was like, take off your pants, and he was like, you know what I want, and then like he smacked my face, and then I was raped again for like the second time. And it's like, cause like once he did it, I told him to stop, and he just like shoved my face in the pillow, and he just like totally denied me. And like for me, I thought it was gonna be like a one thing, like you just like stick it in, and then like okay, like stick it out, like you're not gonna like continuously like do it or whatever. And he didn't care. Like it's like it's so sucky. It's so sucky. Like life is so crummy sometimes. It's so crummy, especially when like you love the person. And so like if you've ever been in a relationship and it's like that, like I'm sorry, like I feel your pain. And that's not love. It's not love. And it was just really bad. And then the next day I didn't even talk to him. And he was like, what's wrong? I was like, you raped me. And he was like, I'm sorry. He's like, I'll make it up to you and all this stuff. And I'm just like, I don't know. I had nowhere to go. Like, my mom and dad weren't talking to me. I couldn't talk to my sisters. Like, I was literally like outcasted. And if I tried to talk to my sisters, like they took their phones, and then they were like, if you ever show up here, we're gonna call the police and stuff like that. Like, all because I was living with a boy. So I went through all that, and then I just became really depressed after that. And like really, really depressed. And I just kept spending more nights alone because he kept going out. And weird stuff was happening. Like the one night he said that like I flew off of the bed. The one night I randomly woke up in the closet. And then there was this another night that like I woke up and it felt like something was sitting on my chest and I couldn't breathe. And I was like, something's trying to kill me, and I couldn't even like have the words. And like I woke up my boyfriend, I was like, I can't breathe, like something's trying to kill me. And he didn't know what to do, and I was like, Jesus. And the thing went away. It was the weirdest thing ever. And so like after that, it was about a week later, and it was like 12 o'clock, and he was like, oh, I'm gonna go hang out with Cody. And I was like, please don't leave tonight. I don't feel like something good's gonna happen. Like, please don't leave me tonight. He was like, you'll be fine. And I remember sitting on the apartment floor. And I was like, life isn't worth it. Life is terrible. Nobody loves me. I'm not accepted. I always mess up. This isn't worth it. So I went into the freezer and there was this huge bottle of moonshine. like the illegal proof, like 101% alcohol. Like, it was crazy. And I drank the whole bottle, and I was like, I don't want to wake up. And it was 2 a.m. and my boyfriend came in and he saw me laying on the floor and I wasn't breathing, so he called the paramedics. Paramedics showed up. My boyfriend said that my eyes rolled back in my head, and they said, dude, we'll pump her one last time, but if not, like, she's gone. And so they pumped me one last time, and I took a breath, and I can't explain it to people. It was like breathing for the first time, and it was so refreshing and so incredible, and I was like, wow. And for the first time, like, I felt like I had a purpose. And I felt hands wrap around me, but there was nobody there. Like, they were all like standing, like, talking to my boyfriend, telling him what to do and whatnot. And it was awesome. It was so cool. And that night, I got out of bed and he was asleep. And I went out to the living room and I said, God, I surrender all that I am, all that I will be. Every day I will live for you. Every day I will serve you. Every day I will live for you. It's not my life anymore. I dedicate my whole life, my whole purpose, my whole existence is for you and for your kingdom and for your glory. And I don't know why you saved me, because I'm not special. But he did. And you may think that you're not special, and you may think that you're a mess up, and you may think that you're a screw up, and that you're a black sheep, and that you're odd, or that you don't fit in, but God loves you. He does. He loves you really, 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 really a lot. He loves you. And so whoever is going through that season, just know that you're not alone. It's been 4 years. And man, my life has been so great. Hasn't been easy, but God makes it great even through the storm, even through the troubles, even through the bad. I still smile because God gives me a reason to smile. It's crazy. It's so crazy. And he was always there, and he sees everything. And I'm just so thankful. I'm so thankful for a loving God. And anyone who's watching this video, if you have any questions or if you just want to talk, like, please feel free to message me. It was hard to do this, but I'm glad that I did it. And I can thank my friend Sam for that. I watched his testimony, and I'll link that down below. And I was like, if he can do it, I can do it. And so, thanks guys for watching my video. And I don't know if I'm gonna do more videos or not, but yeah, it was an honor to just be able to share, I guess, and being able to share. So thanks for watching. I know it was really, really long. But yeah, hope you guys have like a good day, a blessed day, and I will see you guys later. Bye.